This unique astronomical musical clock was crafted at the legendary Paris-based clockmaking workshop of Julien and Pierre Leroy in the second third of the 18th century, likely around 1740. During this time, France was ruled by King Louis XV and was a European center of culture. This extremely rare Baroque console clock represents a beautiful example of the very finest French clockmaking and cabinet-making artistry. Without doubt, it is one of the finest clocks of its type in the world. Such a highly decorative and mechanically complex clock is entirely unavailable on the world art market. Similar clocks can just barely be found amidst the collections of the world's finest museums. Clocks of this type were custom-made for the wealthiest members of royal families and aristocracies. For example, King Louis XV had a similar astronomical clock made for Madame de Pompadour. This particular clock comes from the Palais d'Orchinsky, one of the most notable high Baroque palaces in Vienna. And this may have been a key factor why this masterwork remained preserved in such a fine condition. The clock movement is made from brass and steel, with a verge escapement built for a reduced pendulum swing, ensuring greater accuracy. The oscillator is a short-rod pendulum with a brass lens. The clock frame is comprised of a large brass case featuring 4 supporting struts. The clock movement is spring-driven. One winding enables 8 days of continuous operation. Motion, striking, and music playing power is transferred from the mainspring mechanism to a fusee equalizer geared via a steel cord mechanism. A musical cylinder is found in the right upper part of the clock frame with a comb that plays a predetermined carillon melody. 9 metal bells are struck to produce the clock's musical chimes. A repeating quarter-hour striking mechanism situated at the left strikes on one standalone metal bell. In a total, the clock contains 10 bells. It plays a melody every 15 minutes, while on the hour it plays both a melody and strikes the respective number of hours. Manual regulators enable repetition and striking to be activated and deactivated. The clock's indicator functions are located underneath the dial on a metal base plate. This serves as a central hub to reinforce the entire dial and movement. The clock dial is made from handcrafted gold-plated sheet copper containing relief ornaments with a central animal dial and 7 smaller handcrafted animal dials featuring rich Baroque ornamentation. The large central clock dial contains 12 inner animal Latin number plates indicating hours, as well as 12 outer animal number plates in Arabic numerals to indicate minutes. 2 smaller clock dials are found inside this larger face, which indicate the repetition and striking settings. The lower left area contains a dial showing the position of the sun with respect to the length of the day. A dial on the lower right indicates the moon phase. A further 3 dials display the annual calendar. The middle semicircular clock dial is signed Leroy à Paris and shows the day of the month. The left dial shows the month of the year, the number of days in each month, and the sign of the zodiac. The right dial shows the days of the week and astronomical symbols. The clock case contains elements from the late Baroque era and was crafted in the fantastical design and ornamental spirit of the Rococo era. The case is richly decorated with ornaments covered in fire-gilded bronze. One bronze cast is signed by the fondeur ciseleur. The top of the case contains a bronze sculpture depicting an eagle and snake in battle. The sides of the case are decorated with bronze sculptures featuring the heads of Baroque puto. The case is made from oak, inlaid with brass, mother of pearl, and horn of various color. The sides are partially glassed in. It is known that the clockmaker Julien Leroy worked closely with the painter Tourette, which may have helped the former to imprint upon his clocks an appearance of lightness and ease of motion. This is assisted by the colors of the selected materials, which stand in elegant contrast to the shiny gold-plated bronze statuettes. The case is decorated with a loose plant motif, combining black, red, green and blue. The sumptuousness of the case is underscored by the authentic wall console made from the same materials as the case itself. This astronomical clock was bought from the estate of Prince Franciszek Olszewski and comes from the Palais Downkinski in Vienna. Documentation concerning the origins of the clock includes photographs from the palace interior showing this clock displayed on a mantelpiece. Additionally, a book entitled Palais Downkinski, published in 2001, contains photographs of this clock printed on page 202. Page 186 of a 1996 publication entitled European Clocks, found in the J. Paul Getty Museum, states that Julien Leroy produced astronomical clocks of high technical quality. Pages 64 and 65 in the book La Dynastie de Leroy, Horloger du Roi, from 1987, feature a picture of a similar astronomical clock movement unit built by Julien Leroy. In comparison to the clock presented here, both can be said to be functionally very similar, albeit the one in the book contains far less elaborate and decorative enamel dials. Page 25 of the aforementioned book also states that Julien Leroy only created 3 astronomical clocks until the year 1739. Indeed, technically and financially, this was a very demanding production on the part of Julien Leroy, and was even approved by the French Royal Academy of Science. One of these 3 astronomical clocks was created for the affluent director of the Paris Observatory, Giovanni Domenico Cassini. This famous Italian spent 41 years as an astronomer and astrologer for French King Louis XIV. Another astronomical clock was created for the French director of the Academy of Science, namely the philosopher, mathematician and naturalist Pierre-Louis Moreau de Maupertuis. This clock movement is now situated in the Musée d'Histoire in the French town of Saint-Malo. Another of these astronomical clocks was made for the French astronomer Jacques Cassini, son of Giovanni Domenico Cassini, who studied comets, planets, and planetary moons. At the age of 17, Jacques Cassini became a member of the French Academy of Science and soon after a member of the Royal Society of London. In all likelihood, the clock presented here was ordered by the astronomer Jacques Cassini. Later, the piece may have been given as a gift, or even made for, a member of the Kinski aristocratic family. It was Stephen Wilhelm, first Prince Kinski of Chinitz and Tettau, who in 1729 was named by Emperor Charles IV as an imperial ambassador to the court of King Louis XV of France. In this post, he went on to cultivate close personal ties with the highest levels of the French aristocracy. One can therefore assume that it was this service which helped to later secure the transfer of such an exquisite clock to the Palais Downkinski in Vienna. Julien Leroy ran his own celebrated clock and watchmaking workshop located in La Rue de Halle in Paris, France. In this workshop, Leroy both personally made and also oversaw the construction of clocks and pocket watches. His son, the brilliant clockmaker Pierre Leroy, served as his father's right-hand man and close collaborator. After the death of Julien, Pierre took over the workshop from his father. The Julien and Pierre Leroy workshop boasted a broad clientele of wealthy customers, including many members of European aristocratic and royal families. Clock cases were supplied to this workshop by the very best manufacturers, for example André Charles Boulle, de Caffieris, Balthazar Lietot, Robert Osmond, Jean-Joseph de Saint-Germain, and Antoine Foulet. Clock dials were frequently supplied to the workshop by Antoine Nicolas Martinière, Nicolas Julia, and likely also Elie Barbeza. Julien and Pierre Leroy clocks and watches can be seen at the finest museums around the world. These include the Musée du Louvre, Musée d'Horlogerie La Chaux-de-Fonds, J. Paul Getty Museum in California, at the Palace of Versailles, in the Musée Jacques-Marc André, in the Musée Cognacq-Jay, in the Petit Palais in Paris, in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, in Weddesden Manor, Buckinghamshire, in Rijksmuseum Amsterdam, and many more. On a final note, it is important to add that this clock represents a discovery which significantly enriches our knowledge and understanding of the clockmaking work of the Julien and Pierre Leroy workshop. Such a sumptuous clock can be ornamented in any private collection or museum in the world.